Puppies understand human gestures from an early age with no training, unlike wolf pups. Dogs and humans have formed a special bond after more than 14,000 years of co-evolving together. The 7 doggies, from Canine Companions for Independence, are important for a drawn-out examination supported by the National Institutes of Health to evaluate the impacts that diverse raising techniques have on the conduct and intellectual improvement of help canines. Canines can comprehend and react to human correspondence from an early age and with essentially no preparation, in contrast to other tamed species. You probably won't have a favorable opinion of it when you play Bring with your canine, yet this basic demonstration of correspondence and coordination is a really serious deal from both an intellectual and developmental viewpoint. This recommends that the solid connection among people and canines has prompted co-advanced characteristics that have turned canines progressively friendly towards us. In another investigation, specialists at Duke University contended for this thought, in the wake of showing that wolf little guys couldn't comprehend human signals intended to help them discover delectable treats, while canine young doggies aced the test notwithstanding having no preparation. It was imperative to us to test doggies, not simply grown-up canines and wolves, since we needed to see whether there is a natural species contrast, which can't be clarified exclusively by learning over life experience. Hannah Salomons, a doctoral understudy at Duke University, revealed to ZME Science. The primary finding of this investigation is that contrasted with wolf little dogs, canine pups have significant degrees of social abilities that consider agreeable correspondence. For example, understanding that a human motion is intended to help them discover covered-up food. The canine pups were likewise undeniably more drawn to people, and would move toward the two outsiders and natural individuals more frequently than the wolf young doggies. Be that as it may, on non-social errands, the canine and wolf pups performed likewise, she added. The tokens of training. Wolf pups at Wildlife Science Center in Minnesota, where the testing occurred. Canines and wolves share close progenitors, and specialists have been considering their likenesses and contrasts for quite a long time, expecting to deconstruct the starting points of canine taming. Beforehand, researchers had analyzed canine and wolf social capacities, showing that canines appear to have an inborn capacity to react to human-given signals, for example, pointing motions, while wolves need unique preparing. The new exploration at Duke University is comparable in degree to different examinations, yet with a lot higher example size of charming young doggies and lovable puppies. While different investigations utilized all things considered 12 young doggies of every species. This time the analysts worked with 36 little dogs for each species, which offers much better trust in the measurable meaning of the discoveries. The wolf youthful were additionally hereditarily tried to affirm that the doggies were to be sure wolves and not some canine crossbreed, something no past such examination confirmed previously. The 37 wolf young doggies were raised at the Wildlife Science Center in Minnesota, where they were encircled and really focused on by people practically non-stop. Yet, regardless of the universality of human cooperation, the wolf puppies were still extremely modest and would possibly emerge from concealing when within the sight of guardians they knew well. Conversely, the 44 little dogs from Canine Companions for Independence invested the greater part of their energy in the organization of their moms and littermates and had negligible human contact when they were taken on this investigation. Having the option to test an enormous example of wolf young doggies was a gigantic endeavor that took our group more than 6 years to finish. A couple of litters are brought into the world at Wildlife Science Center per season, and regardless of being raised by people non-stop from only a couple days old, which, I should note, is important for WSC's common cultivation practice, not accomplished with the end goal of this investigation, and is an immense accomplishment all by itself. A portion of the wolf pups are so timid around individuals that they never warm up to the experimenter enough to partake in the examination. I have some extraordinary recollections of sitting in the wolf puppy nook for quite a long time at a time, seeing them go from concealing when I initially entered to skipping around and playing as they adjusted to my essence, and being compensated with one little guy hauling over a decent ready piece of deer cadaver, her number one food, to sit close to me and chew on. Salomons said. To evaluate their relational abilities, The youthful canids were set in opposition to one another in a progression of tests. During one such undertaking, the canine and wolf young doggies needed to discover a treat covered up underneath one of two dishes. To take care of them, the scientists pointed and looked towards the right area of the reserved food. In different undertakings, a human planted a little wooden square alongside the right spot to show where the food was covered up, a signal that neither one nor the other kinds of puppies had seen previously. The outcomes represented themselves. Notwithstanding their absence of formal preparing, 17 out of 31 canine doggies reliably went to the right bowl, though none of the human-raised wolf puppies performed better compared to a coin throw. Resulting preliminaries showed that the young doggies were directed by human motions instead of the smell of food. A considerable lot of the doggies finished their preliminaries on their first go, which proposes that this noteworthy capacity is hardwired in the canines' minds. Yet, saying this doesn't imply that canines are more intelligent than wolves. Chimps, our nearest family members alongside bonobos, can't peruse human signals, despite the fact that they're obviously superior to canines at complex psychological assignments. All puppies are acceptable young men and young ladies. Canine companions for independence young doggies at the Duke Puppy Kindergarten. Credit, Jared Lazarus. Development doesn't create species that are preferable, or more awful, over others, yet rather encourages species that are generally adjusted to their current circumstance. The two canids have pretty much similar intellectual capacities as far as memory and engine motivation control. It's simply that pups have much better relationship building abilities because of their closeness to our species for millennia. Little dogs as youthful as possible comprehend directions from people, for example, blame shifting and looking towards an article. This investigation tracked down that 40% of the variety in a little dog's capacity to follow a human's blame shifting or look can be clarified hereditarily, which bodes well considering different discoveries. We know from past research that types of canines that were at first chosen for helpful work, like sheepdogs, are greatly improved at following an individual's point than breeds chose for different sorts of work like gatekeeper canines, dogs, or sled canines. This commonality and solid bond with people is maybe best confirmed by how wolf and canine pups contrast in the manner they react to outsiders. Tests showed that canine little dogs were multiple times bound to move toward a more peculiar than the modest wolf puppies. Beforehand, specialists in Austria and Hungary likewise evaluated wolf and canine little guys' capacity to follow human motions. They found that canines as youthful as 4 months old enough comprehend guiding signals toward discover covered up food even without serious early socialization. Wolf little guys, despite what is generally expected, don't take care of this unpretentious pointing. Curiously, this specific investigation found that wolves associated at a practically identical level to canines can utilize straightforward human-given signals unexpectedly if the human's hand is near the bedeviled compartment, for example contacting, proximal pointing. The wolves likewise reacted to motions highlighting objects a ways off in the event that they got formal preparing. This isn't that astonishing thinking about how firmly related the two species are, yet the impacts of taming on relationship-building abilities are very striking. The proof from this examination alongside numerous others makes plainly canine doggies can comprehend people's agreeable open signals since early on, with no express preparing or escalated human experience, Salomons said. Concerning why other tamed creatures may not show the human-like agreeable open capacity found in canines, this is probably going to be obliged by the previous social intellectual capacities of their wild archetypes. As wolves previously had genuinely complex social abilities, as the taming interaction advanced and an appreciation for people supplanted dread, they had the option to apply these abilities recently and they started to arise before being developed. Different species, like the wild archetypes of sheep or dairy cattle, might not have had comparable beginning degrees of social abilities for the taming cycle to shape. All things considered, proof is coming out that in different species, like ferrets, tamed populaces do beat wild populaces at perusing human motions. As per Salomons, these discoveries show that taming, by choosing for appreciation for people, adjusted canines' social turn of events, bringing about the momentous helpful open capacities we see today. Researchers aren't actually certain how this occurred, yet maybe everything began with a couple of wolves that were uncommonly cordial towards people and that got food scraps as a trade-off for their non-forceful conduct. Over the long run, wolves that were agreeable towards people had a superior shot at replicating and passing on the subdued qualities, though wolves that were unfortunate and forceful towards people remained to themselves. After many ages, this normal predecessor speciated into Canis familiaris, the loyal canine we as a whole adore and appreciate. This information is significant in light of the fact that seeing how canines' brains are wired can assist us with learning speak with them better and cooperate as a more grounded group. Likewise, a comparable interaction, known as self-training, may have happened throughout human advancement also, so understanding its impacts may reveal insight into the improvement of our own personalities. Solomon's finished up.